It's going to be quite a bit milder. It's going to be partly cloudy. The humidity's higher too, so temperatures will be in the 60s and not the 50s tonight. And we had 90-degree heat today. Tomorrow we're going to do it all over again. Partly sunny and hot, 86 to 91 for your Saturday. And there's going to be some higher humidity too. Dew points in the morning will be in the 60s. They may come down for a little while during the afternoon, but then later on in the day, dew points are going to be right up there in the 60s to possibly near 70. And that's not the end of the heat. It's going to go on for several more days. We'll talk about that coming up on Eyewitness News at 5.
The Bright Spot, sponsored by Connecticut Lighting Centers.
All right, what a great week. From a ride for a great cause to a splash of color in one downtown. Channel 3's Nicole Nalepa looks back at the best of the Bright Spot.
Remember the 78-year-old man from Gales Ferry who started the John Clark's Ride for Alzheimer's?
Here we are 20 years later, 22 years later, and the effort has raised over $375,000.
Money which goes to the National Alzheimer's Association. Well, after Sunday's event in Mystic, John Clark found out that he surpassed this year's fundraising goal of $18,000.
Just for me riding my bicycle.
For us, we just wanted to do something that would lift her spirits and kind of bring Hawaii to her.
It was a place 8-year-old Monet of Glastonbury really wanted to travel to.
I wanted to go there for my Nana.
They never got the chance to go together.
Monet, who has a nervous system disorder, was referred to Make-A-Wish by her nurse at Connecticut Children's Medical Center, and they wanted to make Hawaii happen for her.
This was kind of fulfilling a dream that she's had for a really long time.
It was about to come true in June.
Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, it was postponed kind of indefinitely.
So instead, the Make-A-Wish Connecticut volunteers turned a portion of Glastonbury into Hawaii.
We want to thank everybody in Glastonbury who came out to support her and brought her presents and showed her how strong she is. We really do appreciate it.
We knew it would make a splash in the city.
And it's not just a little splash, it's actually a 50-foot splash of color in downtown Bristol.
I can't believe he does all of that so quickly. That 50-foot mural was done in 7 days, all with spray paint cans.
Corey Payne, a local artist based in West Hartford. He's also a Wethersfield native and a UHart grad.
He's got such beautiful vision, beautiful style. We just thought he would be perfect for this piece.
I had the Ferris wheel and the roller coaster track as like a kind of ode to like lake compounds.
We brought our clock manufacturing history into it, the new departure history into it.
And then there's the mums at the bottom for like the Mums Festival in Bristol.
I love that it showcases who we are as a city and our history. It gives hope that we can go anywhere in the future.
Brings like a new life to the whole city.
With today's Bright Spot, I'm Nicole Nalepa.
That is really cool, Nicole. Thank you, and thanks for joining us for the news at 4:30. I'll see you back here at 5:30. But Irene is up right now with the news at 5.
From WFSB, Connecticut's #1 local news, this is Channel 3 Eyewitness News at 5.
And right now on Eyewitness News at 5, local schools are getting some much needed relief as they get ready to reopen. The state is announcing $130 million will go to schools for coronavirus related expenses. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Mike Savino is in Glastonbury. Mike, this must be some very good news for them.
Oh, absolutely, Irene. Just take Glastonbury, for example. I was talking with Superintendent Alan Bookman today. He tells me that Glastonbury is spending upwards of $600,000 in extra expenses just related to the coronavirus. They'll be getting about half of that back from the state, but of course, every little bit helps.
You can't spare any expenses as far as safety is concerned.
School districts around the state have had to take on plenty of extra costs as they return to school. Guidelines and safety measures to protect against the coronavirus have cost some school districts hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of unbudgeted dollars. But today, the Department of Education announced $130 million in aid to 166 districts statewide.
Knowing that they have this support from the state is very important.
The funding comes from the $1.3 billion in federal coronavirus aid that the state received in April. Amounts vary from a few thousand for some of the smallest school districts to $11.9 million for Hartford, $8.3 million for Norwalk, $6.3 million for Norwich, and $5.4 million for New Haven. Glastonbury will see $312,000, covering about half of the $500,000 to $600,000 it's spent so far.
We bought foggers to clean every room every night.
The funds can be used to cover personal protective gear, cleaning supplies, and transportation-related expenses. 60 of the $130 million went to schools where at least 40% of kids get free or reduced-priced lunches. Those schools can use that money for additional staffing.
We know that students are going to need additional social and emotional support.
But even when all the safety measures are in place, superintendents say they need everyone to follow best practices, like social distancing and wearing masks.
We expect all of our students to be wearing masks. It would be unacceptable not to.
Now, Glastonbury says that even without the additional funding for personnel, they're still going to be bringing in 10 part-time custodians to help with cleaning. For schools that do get that extra staff funding, I'll tell you on Eyewitness News at 6 some of the ways that money can help. Reporting live from Glastonbury, Mike Savino, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for that. The fate of fall sports is on hold. The Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference says fall sports practice can't start until August 29th at the earliest. Eyewitness News reporter Sharon Johnson is in New Britain now with the details of the decision made today. Good afternoon, Sharon.
Good afternoon. Well, there's been confusion from top to bottom about when sports can start this season, and the CIAC says that this is really an evolving decision because of COVID. Guilford football coach Anthony Salvati says in a normal year, they'd be in the middle of conditioning and practicing by now.
We had to scrap our weight training in the off season. 7-on-7 camps were all canceled. Our conditioning camps, our college camps were all canceled. So, this is definitely not what we're used to.
But this morning, the CIAC announced they would not be able to start practice until August 29th at the earliest. This comes after the conference halted practices last week after giving the green light last month.
It's confusing to the coaches because, we have game plans, we have practice plans, we have everything planned out. And now you got to go back to the drawing board.
High school coaches and players say they're frustrated with the recent guidance from the CIAC and the DPH about when they can or cannot play. The CIAC recently had a meeting with the Department of Public Health about those next steps.
We were able to learn yesterday a little bit more of their thoughts of what has changed from late July to mid-August.
Executive Director Glenn Lungarini says their board will be meeting this weekend and receiving more guidance about what to do next.
Our Board of Control will meet again on Sunday at 7 p.m. There we will finalize some fall sport plan options.
Lungarini says that they will have another plan released next week. In the meantime, Coach Salvati has to tell players to be patient, but for them, time is running out.
You can play twilight baseball till you're 40 or 50 years old. Football, it's a short window. There's no men's football club out there.
And Lungarini says that the DPH does not regulate the CIAC, but they do want to closely follow their recommendations. Reporting live in New Britain, Sharon Johnson, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Well, COVID-19 cases at the University of Connecticut continue to rise. UConn is now reporting 17 on-campus students had tests come back positive. 5 of the new cases were students exposed on campus. And coming up in the next half hour, how the towns of Mansfield and Wyndham are trying to stop groups of college students from gathering or holding parties. Well, just a day after Steve Bannon's arrest and court appearance, the boat he was on when he was taken into custody is still off the Connecticut coast. The Bridgeport harbor master told Channel 3 the Lady May was seen in the harbor. This video was shot just about an hour ago. It shows police on board there. President Trump's former campaign advisor pleaded not guilty yesterday to federal charges. He is accused of using money raised for a border wall for personal expenses.
Well, recently we had a break from the 90-degree heat. It lasted 6 days, but today was right back up around 90 once again. It seems like we've been saying that so often this summer. It made it up to 89 at Hartford, but 90 officially at Bradley International Airport. So again, that brings our total for the month up to 10 days. And for the year up to 36 days, we're closing in on the all-time record of 38 days set in 1983. And if my 7-day forecast is correct, by the end of next week, by next week at this time, that 36 is going to go up to 41, which would shatter the record. Also, Today could be the beginning of heat wave number 6, if my 7-day forecast is correct. All right, there is New London, and with today's warm weather, it was a great day to be at the beach. You see a decent crowd in New London at Ocean Beach Park, where we had kind of a mix of clouds and sunshine, but I think enough sunshine to make everybody happy to be at the beach today. And right now it's still very warm. Berlin is 87, Middlebury is 83, Wolcott is 81, and West Haven is 82 degrees. So we have dry weather here in Connecticut, but there are some showers and storms off to our north. I don't think we have to worry about them. As they try to move southward, they will tend to dissipate as we go into this evening once we lose the heating. So after sunset, we'll go back into the 70s, bottom out in the 60s. It won't be as cool as recent nights, and your lows for the shoreline tonight will likely be 70s this evening, upper 60s by around 5 o'clock in the morning before that sun comes up. So a hot weekend is in store, I should say. We'll talk about that. Plus the tropics, very active. We'll have the latest on a tropical depression and a tropical storm and where they're going next. It's all ahead in the early morning forecast.
All right, now in campaign 2020, the U.S. Postmaster General spent the day in the hot seat in a virtual Senate hearing. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy faced questions over policy changes that some say threaten to delay delivery of mail-in absentee ballots this November. Channel 3's Bofta Umam is following developments from Capitol Hill.
Postmaster General Louis DeJoy acknowledged a recent slowdown in mail delivery, but assured members of the Senate Homeland Security Committee Friday that his agency is committed and fully capable of processing election mail on time.
We will scour every plant the day, each night leading up to Election Day.
DeJoy's 2 months on the job have been marred by controversy after he implemented, then recently suspended changes. Some included curtailing postal worker overtime, the removal of blue mailboxes, and a reduction in large mail sorting machines. Several committee members also pointed out spikes in mail delivery delay complaints, calling it a lifeline to those who need medications on time.
These are people who are coming forward, talking about delays, talking about medicine that's not available for them.
Meanwhile, many Democrats have accused the Trump administration of using the U.S. Postal Service to sabotage the upcoming election, which will rely heavily on mail-in ballots due to the coronavirus pandemic. DeJoy is a former GOP fundraising chairman and Trump campaign donor.
Moving forward, trying to have any negative impact on the election is an outrageous claim. I think the American public should be able to vote by mail.
The Postmaster General told lawmakers he has not spoken to the president about the U.S. Postal Service. His testimony supporting mail-in voting stood in contrast to recent remarks from President Trump.
We can't let this happen to our country. It's called universal mail-ins. This will be the greatest catastrophe, one of the greatest catastrophes in the history of our country. That's how serious it is.
Earlier this week, the president also lashed out at Senate Homeland Security Committee Republicans for holding the hearing just days before the Republican National Convention. DeJoy is scheduled to take the hot seat again on Monday, this time before a Democrat-led House panel.
Well, we are asking you to weigh in on this. Head to WFSB.com/vote now or use the Channel 3 app to vote in our unscientific poll. Will you mail in your ballot? Vote now, yes or no, or undecided. Well, still ahead.
I don't know if they want to scare or intimidate or just police other people's opinions.
Well, someone is condemning those supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. A look at the letter people in Wethersfield are receiving in the mail. And back to school through the eyes of teachers. We're getting their take on how the classroom life will be different this year. Well, Full House actress Lori Loughlin is headed to jail. A judge accepted the terms of her plea deal for 2 months in prison. Her husband, Massimo Giannulli, was sentenced to 5 months. The two pleaded guilty to paying $500,000 in bribes to get their 2 daughters into the University of Southern California. Well, the man known as the Golden State Killer was sentenced today. 74-year-old Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. will serve life in prison without parole. He pleaded guilty in June to 13 murders and more than a dozen rape-related charges stemming from crimes in the 1970s and 80s. He was arrested in 2018 after DNA testing linked him to those crimes. Well, the much-anticipated Subway Series between the Mets and Yankees has been postponed. The 3-game weekend series was supposed to start tonight. The Mets had a player and a staff member test positive for COVID-19 on Thursday before the final game against Miami.
Connecticut's Back to School Authority is sponsored by Yale New Haven Children's Hospital, one of the best in the nation.
Well, Eyewitness News is Connecticut's Back to School Authority. We are speaking with teachers around the state about heading back to the classroom. Eyewitness News reporter Sharon Johnson brings us the teacher's take.
If you look at any photo 2020 Connecticut Teacher of the Year Megan Hatch-Geary is in, she's likely surrounded by smiling faces from colleagues to students.
I want nothing more than to be able to go back into my classroom and do what I love to do.
The high school English teacher says she's feeling conflicted this year, excited and afraid. She's preparing her lesson plans around a hybrid model and trying to figure out how to make it all work.
How do I do that using technology in a distance learning situation? How do I manage collaborative critical thinking when kids can't sit next to each other?
Hatch-Geary says she's excited to see her students and thrilled to collaborate with her colleagues, but she's also fearful of the risk that may come with it.
I am still absolutely afraid of getting sick. I'm afraid of my students getting sick.
Middle school social studies teacher Claudia Tenaglia also has her reservations. She teaches in Hartford, where lower grades will be going back full-time with a distance learning option.
And there's just this very heavy weight of uncertainty. It's just like, how is this going to work? How are we going to do this safely?
Tenaglia says she utilizes group work on a normal school day, but this year,
so we're not going to be doing as much of that. It's going to be a lot of independent work.
5th grade teacher Kimberly Rogers is also trying to figure out how to make changes in her classroom. She teaches at Madison Elementary in Bridgeport, where they'll also be going back full-time with a distance learning option.
How can I make the classroom still really engaging and fun for the kids to be in while still adhering to the things that we need to adhere to right now in order to keep everybody safe?
The 25-year professional says although there are a ton of changes this year, she's not worried about heading back to the classroom.
I really miss being with my kids. You know, that's part of why you go into teaching, is to be with the kids.
Sharon Johnson, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, and we are giving away free masks for school next Wednesday. We're going to be in Hartford. We're going to be at the Xfinity Theater from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We are giving away 2 youth-size cotton masks per child on a first-come, first-served basis.
Now, Channel 3 Early Warning Weather with Chief Meteorologist Bruce DePriest.
Well, several big weather stories. One is the heat, 90-degree heat today, and that could be the beginning of heat wave number 6 for this year. And we're also tracking the active tropics. We got 3 systems. One is a wave moving off the coast of Africa. We got Tropical Storm Laura and Tropical Depression number 14, which is moving toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And that will likely become a Marco over the coming days, over the weekend. So let's start with Laura. Laura's kind of ragged right now as it's approaching the northern Leeward Islands, but it's still expected to strengthen over the coming days. Kind of a ragged, disorganized appearance right now. So where is the are the warnings in effect for now? We got a tropical storm warning in effect for the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the north side of Hispaniola, and a tropical storm watch in effect for the southeastern Bahamas. So, Laura, here's the latest track according to the Hurricane Center. It's got winds of 45 miles an hour. It's forecast to go right on the north side of the islands, come close to South Florida early next week, and it may strike the Gulf Coast around Louisiana, perhaps, or a little bit to the east or west of there as a hurricane as we go into the middle part of next week. So something for the Gulf Coast to really keep an eye on. Meanwhile, Tropical Depression number 14 is going to be moving toward the north, going by the Yucatan Peninsula, and it could potentially strike the Texas coast as either a hurricane or a tropical storm by around Tuesday of next week. So here in Connecticut, we can breathe easy for a while, but the Gulf states and Florida have to really look out as we go into the weekend and early next week. But for now, it's beautiful. Yes, it was hot today, but a nice day otherwise. Partly cloudy sky right now over Hartford. 87 degrees there. Waterbury is 83 degrees and calm. And right now in New Haven, we have 82 degrees with a nice breeze coming in from off the water, a south-southwest wind at 10 miles an hour. No rain on early warning pinpoint Doppler. And temperature-wise for now, we're ranging from 78 in Groton to 89 at Windsor Locks, where the high temperature was 90 degrees for today. And dew point temperatures have really come down in the Connecticut River Valley from Hartford on north. Windsor Locks has a dew point of 52. Meanwhile, New Haven has a dew point of 69, so high humidity at the coast, low humidity in northern Connecticut. All the showers and storms are off to our north, and that's where they will stay. We don't expect any of those to reach us tonight. Maybe northern Massachusetts, but not here in Connecticut. During the day tomorrow, though, we'll have some heating, and with the higher humidity, there could be a few hit or miss showers and storms during the afternoon and for a while into the evening. Things will settle down tomorrow night, and then on Sunday, we have a partly sunny day. Once again, a slight chance for a hit or miss shower or thunderstorm over the weekend, but over the weekend it wouldn't change any outdoor plans. So tonight it's not going to be as cool as recent nights with lows in the 60s, and your highs for tomorrow range anywhere from 90 in Enfield, Hartford, and Middletown to around 83 degrees in New London with a bit of a breeze coming in from off the waters of Long Island Sound. So as I said, today could be the start of heat wave number 6, and if that forecast is correct, it will last 5 days, 90 or higher through Tuesday. Each day a chance for a shower or storm. A cool down on Wednesday. It could be a big time cool down. And then by the end of next week, we could be right up there, 90 or higher once again. For the shoreline this weekend, I'm going for 86 on Saturday and a high of 87 on Sunday.